I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about pet safety during the summertime. I am Dr. Katy Nelson. In case you guys don't know who I am, I'm an associate veterinarian at the Belhaven Animal Medical Center in Alexandria, Virginia. And I'm also the host and the producer of the Pet Show with Dr. Katy on DC's News Channel 8. We've been doing our show now for about 4.5 years, and I've been a veterinarian for 15. I'm a proud graduate of the Louisiana State University School of Veterinary Medicine, Go Tigers. And I do a bunch of other stuff here around town as well. I work for WTOP News, which is our radio news, our all news radio station here in town. And I'm also the medical director of pet health for Stop Aging Now, for BioStem Logics, for Allergy Pal, and I also have my own side business called Cajun Pet Marketing, where I help companies with marketing of their animal-related products. So I've done all sorts of fun things up in New York, Today Show, Fox and Friends, Meredith Vieira, Power Pitch, HuffPost Live, and I am excited to be on this season of Unlikely Animal Friends on Nat Geo Wild. You can read me on HuffPost Pest, BarkPost, did I say Pest? HuffPost Pets, BarkPost, PetMD. You can find me on the PetMD website as well, and you can read me on the Virginia, Maryland, DC Dog Magazine. Those of you who are on here, I know you're on here because you are hoping to learn about some products, increase your bottom line, and also help your customers. That's obviously, we're all in this business because we love animals, and this is just another way for you to be able to help your customers help themselves. So I look forward to summer all year long, and I know that it should be one of the most awesome times for your customers to get out there and play with their pets. But there are also some dangers associated with this warmer weather. And, you know, there's some fun stuff too, though. Increased travel time, increased leisure time. But all of that means that we're probably getting outside, we're getting into the weather. There are dangers from heat. There are definitely dangers from insects, as we well know, as well as there are some phobias that our pets have to deal with this time of year that they don't really deal with as much other times of year. So for you as a retailer, what can you do to help your customers make educated decisions about your pet's safety for the summertime? And what kind of solutions are your customers looking for? So as a vet, I know that my customers are looking for advice on how to prevent issues and how to solve some problems that they've got with their dogs, keeping them safe and healthy. In the following webinar, I'm going to give you some tips that you can replicate and share with your customers. And will also hopefully help you to help your customers solve some summer pet issues by giving you some information and some solutions about the dangers that are out there during these warmer months. One of the big things that we read about this time of year is heat stroke. People leaving their children, God forbid, and their pets in their car this time of year. There was actually a new law enacted recently in certain states that allow people to break in your windows if there is an animal or a child that is showing signs of distress in a car. So what exactly happens to a body whenever it is overheating? So heat stroke is defined as a body temperature over 104 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Normal for animals, normal for dogs and cats is about 100.5 to 102.5. And you know, we know that animals, unlike us, don't have very efficient cooling systems. Number one, as humans, we can sweat. Number two, as humans, we have the ability to wear a tank top and shorts and flip-flops, and our dogs and our cats can't do that. They obviously have their fur coat on year-round. So we don't think about this as much in cats as we do in dogs. Cats are usually a little bit smarter than dogs, and they can get in cooler places. And we tend to take our dogs with us more places, so dogs are more prone to it. So a moderate heat stroke situation, 104 to 106, they can potentially recover within about an hour or two if they're given prompt first aid and veterinary care. But severe heat stroke can be fatal. Heat stroke in and of itself is about a 50% fatality rate. So this is something that is not something that is A, easy to get past, or B, inexpensive to get past. So the primary cause is because we put our pets in precarious situations, or they put themselves in precarious situations. You know, their fur is great protection against the cold, but it certainly can be an issue in hot weather. They don't sweat. They eliminate their heat by panting. And they do have some sweat glands in their feet, but obviously that's a very marginal effect whenever you consider how much square footage of their body that actually covers. And an animal that is in heat conditions greater than the body's ability to cool by panting is in real danger of forming heat stroke. And we think about animals that have sort of squished faces. If you think about pugs or bulldogs or boxers, or my little dog is a Shih Tzu, they have much more or much less area in their nasal tissues, and so therefore they have a decreased ability to eliminate heat as compared to dogs that have a larger surface area of their nose. So think about a German Shepherd or a Collie dog or a Greyhound is a great example. These dogs are able to more efficiently dispel heat because they have a greater surface area of their respiratory tract. So things to watch for in overheating: excessive panting and drooling, difficulty breathing, increased heart rate, weakness, stupor or collapse, seizures, bloody diarrhea or bloody vomit, or shock or coma. Obviously, if you see any of these, your pet needs to go immediately to the veterinarian. So great tips to prevent heat stroke for your customers. Overheating, obviously, never, ever, 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 ever leave your pet in the car, period. Even if you think an errand's only going to take a couple minutes, you never know what's going to happen when you get in doing this errand. Are you going to have an emergency phone call? Are you going to run into a neighbor? Is there going to be a long line in the store that you're running into? You don't know what's going to happen, so, and it takes no time at all for the temperature in a car to climb to Sahara Desert type temperatures, so it's best, if you love them, leave them at home. So hydration is obviously critical in humans as it is in our pets, especially in high temperatures. So remember to bring cold water in a bowl to hydrate your pet throughout the activities as well as post-activity and on long car rides. One great tip that I give to a lot of my clients is that if you are going to go out and do some sort of an activity during the hot weather with your pet, invest in one of the little runner's belts that has 3 or 4 of the little water packs in the runner's belt. You can drink out of a couple and your dog can drink out of a couple, and both of you can stay well hydrated throughout your activity. Always seek shade, obviously. Go early and late. Try not to do your daily walks in the middle of the day when it's the hottest. Make sure that you feel the sidewalk and the blacktop that your pets are going to be walking on. Avoid those hot surfaces because it can actually burn your pet's paws. Definitely they're thicker than ours, but if it's too hot for your hands to go on, then it's probably too hot for their little feet. You can consider some of the paw protectors or the boots. Certainly take them for a swim. If you've got an area that they can go swimming, fantastic. If not, you can grab a little kiddie pool or let them run through the sprinkler whenever they get home. And always consider if your pet, if it's appropriate for your pet, consider a summer cut for your pet. And if you do have a dog with a thin coat, again, my little Shih Tzu has white hair, a very thin coat. You can actually see his freckles through his coat, so he is definitely a candidate for sunscreen. And think about the dogs with the pink around their noses or eyes, and they are going to need that around that face as well. Pet Edge does have some really cool products, a whole new line of cooling products that are available, the Cool Pup portable bowls. These little bowls actually have little freezer packs that you can pull out and stick in the freezer. The bowl collapses down into a little pack, and it makes it really easy for you to take with you. And you can stick those little freezer packs in there, and it keeps the water cool. The cooling toys, the 12 packs, are awesome. They've got some that look like ice cream cones. This one looks like a little popsicle. It's super cute. And then the faucet waterers, I had never seen this before recently, and these are just fantastic. If you think about the way that a little hamster water system works or a guinea pig watering bowl works, then that basically turns your faucet into that, so your pet can walk right up to it, once they learn how to do it, and give themselves enough water to keep themselves hydrated. And look at this little cutie pie in his cooling vest. Again, these have little cooling packs in the vest right here that you're seeing. You can either freeze them or you can stick the entire vest into the refrigerator depending on your pet's coat. I think for the thicker coated dogs, definitely putting those in the freezer would be fantastic. And if you've got a really thin coated dog, then maybe sticking it in the fridge, but either way, it's going to help keep the temperature down on your pets. by giving them the cooling material right up against their skin. And then these cool pup mats are adorable. You can either stick them in the refrigerator or the freezer, and they are just as cute as they can be. So, and again, you can just lay them down in and of themselves, or you can put it into their bed to help them stay cool as well. There are a ton of vector-borne diseases out there, and some of the facts here are that about 30% of dogs in shelters are Lyme positive. That is a huge number. And 3 out of 4 of veterinary clients want to know about these vector-borne diseases. They ask us about Lyme disease. They ask us about heartworm disease. This is one of the top questions that we get from our clients when they come in to see us, and I'm sure that you guys as retailers get the same type of questions. So disease transmission through insects is directly related to the exposure, and therefore when you prevent the bugs from being able to bite your pet in the first place, you can prevent exposure to these insects. So there's some great technology out there like Insect Shield that we'll talk about that can help to prevent something like Lyme disease and even heartworm disease. So there's currently only a vaccine available for Lyme, not for all of the other diseases, babesiosis, anaplasmosis, or ehrlichiosis, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and a lot of those can be transmitted from pet to person. So this is a definite risk for zoonosis, which means that it can come from animal to people or people to animals. And so the topical flea and tick preventions over the past 20 years have changed things for sure. They've still had some of their challenges. And so what I always tell my clients is it's great to have as much as you possibly can in your arsenal against these bugs and against these creatures that are trying to spread terrible diseases to our pets. So even dogs who are vaccinated and using flea and tick prevention can still manage to get Lyme disease. So 1 out of 16 dogs tested positive according to the Center for, or according to the Companion Animal Parasite Council. 1 out of 16. That's a huge number of dogs in the U.S. And we think about Lyme disease in the past has typically been a disease that we thought of in the Northeast, Lyme, Connecticut. But it has now been diagnosed in all of the lower 48 states, so it is an issue that we face everywhere, and therefore your clients are going to be facing it as well. Some of the insects that we have to worry about: fleas, obviously. We know that they're gross. We know that they itch, but they can also transmit disease, as can ticks, mosquitoes, flies, biting insects. So all of these bugs are things that we have to worry about, and again, they're more than just annoying and gross. They actually can be deadly to our pets. So by giving our clients and our customers something that is easy and safe to use to help prevent these types of horrific diseases, dermatitis, babesiosis, ehrlichiosis, heartworm disease, tapeworm, Lyme disease, malaria. We have Zika written here. Thankfully, so far, we do not have evidence of Zika in our pets, but does that mean that it's not going to happen? Absolutely not. It's just that it hasn't happened yet. So by keeping these bugs off of our pets, we can also help to keep them out of our homes, which is huge for us and for our health. I don't tell anyone ever to stop using what their veterinarian has told them to use, and obviously you guys as retailers know not to do that either. Don't mess with the relationship between an owner and their veterinarian, but you can suggest some different things that they can use in their arsenal. So if they're using traditional topical treatments, that's fantastic. Using insect repellent gear can actually help to maximize the protection against these bugs. So for pet parents not wanting to use chemical treatments for insects or oral preventatives, then they can consider these repellent fabrics. So some tips for them: adult ticks can be visible to the naked eye, but a lot of them are not. Tick nymphs can actually be as small as a poppy seed or a pepper flake. I have a 70-pound black dog with a poodle-y type coat. If you think I could possibly find something the size of a pepper flake on him, you must have lost your mind. So you've got to be able, you might be able to find them on some dogs, but not for all of them. And so having a flea comb is great when you're looking for fleas and ticks, and it helps to put your pet on a white towel or a sheet, and whenever you're brushing them or just giving them a good rub down, having them on that white background can help to see if anything falls off of them. Just makes their life a little bit easier. If an animal is showing signs of infestation, they might be pale or weak, showing signs of anemia. They might be scratching or licking and chewing and biting at themselves. They might be rubbing up against things to try and knock these bugs off. They can have skin abrasions or hot spots on them, or even hair loss. And some of the grossest ones that you might see are that they can have some tapeworm segments around their bum, which basically look like rice either on the poop or right around their bum. It's really special when you get that phone call as a veterinarian that, you know, oh, we're seeing these little moving pieces of rice. It's like, yeah, rice doesn't move. So you should probably bring them in for a visit. Some of the things that they can do in their yard. First thing, minimize ticks in your landscaping by keeping the areas where it's not, where the ticks just won't thrive. So they're going to be able to survive pretty much anywhere, but try not to give them an area where they're going to thrive. So some of the simple things that you can do to prevent the landscaping is just try to keep the grasses down to a minimum. Make sure you're mowing frequently. Try not to plant taller plants where the tick can jump off onto your pet or the pet rubs up against them if they're walking down the sidewalk or just doing their normal business. So try to minimize the ticks in landscaping. It's a good idea to vacuum every single day during the summertime. I know I've got 2 kids, 2 dogs, a life. Vacuuming it every day is like my worst nightmare, but it definitely does help to get rid of potential larvae in your house. And it also helps to clear out live fleas and ticks. So if you're vacuuming, vacuum everything. The carpets, the couches, under the chair cushions, carpet runners, things like that can definitely help to get these things out of your house and prevent them from forming an infestation. Another great thing you can do is steam clean. The hot steam and the soap kills the fleas in all of their stages of the life cycle, and especially in the areas where the pets sleep. It's super important if you are showing signs of an infestation. And it's great to switch to insect repellent bedding and travel covers for your pet. So repellent fabric can keep these insects from traveling home on your pet whenever your pet is out and about, and prevent them from landing in your home, and can also kill them on contact, which is impressive. Insect Shield for pets. Insect Shield is a technology that was founded years ago. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but it takes, it converts clothing and gear like beds or cargo liners, little t-shirts or gaiters for our pets, and it converts it into long-lasting, effective, and convenient insect protection. So it's been absolutely revolutionary for humans in the battle against bugs, and it's a technology that treats the gear to repel all of these bugs. So the active ingredient is in Insect Shield is permethrin, and you think about permethrin with, we've heard about it throughout the years where we can't use it for cats, anything with permethrin in it, you can't use it because cats can react to it. But the thing about the way that Insect Shield does this is it's so tightly bonded to the fabric that it's basically bonded the same way that the color is. So it's not going to come off on our pets. So because it's so tightly bonded, it's actually odorless, and it's just a built-in protection. So it's invisible, it's durable, it lasts for a very long time. It's convenient, obviously, it's comfortable, it's basically just the same like wearing clothes, and it is a long-lasting protection, and it protects both the family as well as the animal itself. In a pilot study by the University of North Carolina, the employees from the Wetlands and Permitting Unit of UNC were chosen for a study because of the high levels of tick bites that they were receiving. And so they put one group of the people in regular clothing, and they would put one group of people in Insect Shield clothing, and the people in the Insect Shield clothing had 99% fewer tick attachments during working hours than a control group that was wearing untreated clothing. I mean, if you think that that's not effective, I don't know what else we can tell you. 99% fewer tick attachments is amazing results. It's also being used in the U.S. military. All of the uniforms that our soldiers are wearing have built-in Insect Shield technology, as well as, and they've done millions of these uniforms for the Army, the Marines, for West Point. And actually, I'm not sure if I have it in here or not, but we just heard that they are going to be using Insect Shield in some of the uniforms for our Olympic athletes going to Rio. We've all heard about Zika as well as malaria, obviously, in Brazil. And our U.S. Olympians are now going to be using products with insect shield technology in there. So if it's good enough for our Olympians, it's definitely good enough for our pets. And it can be used for the whole family. It has actually even been put into things such as blankets for babies. It's been put into baby onesies. So this is something that can help the entire family. And Insect Shield works with organizations like World Vision and Medical Teams International, and they put it in these Insect Shield blankets for people who are at risk of malaria and dengue fever. We've got a whole line of stuff for pets that are treated with Insect Shield technologies, from t-shirts to neck gaiters to bandanas to little hoodies, the beds. The orange bed that you see there, I love. I have it for my own dog. And when we go outside and sit by our fire pit at night, I bring out his Insect Shield bed so that he can lay there and not have to worry about bugs crawling on him in the middle of the night while we're sitting out there enjoying our fire pit. There's also blankets, car seat covers, so if you take your dog out for a walk out into an area that might have ticks and then you bring them back into your car, you don't necessarily want to be bringing fleas and tick nymphs home in your car, so having a cargo liner or a car seat cover, something along those lines, is great. Now, we all know what storm phobia is probably, but how can we help our pets with it? My big black dog is absolutely a mess whenever the thunderstorms roll in, and I live in Virginia, and we definitely have them here. We actually had one yesterday, and my dog was a mess. My nanny said that he was shaking the entire couch. He was so nervous because of the thunderstorms. So it is a true thing. It's an anxiety disorder in which there is persistent and exaggerated fear of storms or the stimuli associated with storms. This can also go for fireworks as well. So, you know, I think we all know what anxiety is, but it's anticipating future dangers or imagining future issues. But it can go farther than just that, you know, oh my goodness, I'm so nervous. It can actually lead to things like elimination, where they're peeing or they're pooping because they're so scared, destructive behavior, excessive vocalization, like what I was talking about with my dog yesterday, just shaking, exaggerated shaking and trembling. So separation anxiety is one of the most common specific anxieties in dogs, and I had a Jack Russell for years that suffered from this, and when he was left by himself, his manifested as destructive behaviors, but other dogs can have OCD type issues where they're excessive pacing, digging, barking, whining, all of these things, and that's definitely one of the anxiety issues that we see the most in practice. And most fears and phobias develop at the onset of social maturity. So from about 12 to 36 months of age, these dogs are exposed to something that triggers just a bodily response whenever this starts to happen again. And older age, onset of separation anxiety, it's sort of we're not really sure exactly why this happens, but it could be that it is a variant of some sort of dementia property in older animals. So it certainly is something that happens as well. So when you have these really high intelligence dogs like herding breeds or border collies, they might be the ones, or as I mentioned, a Jack Russell Terrier was my dog that had separation anxiety. Some of these dogs may be predisposed to the issues according to Tufts University, but dogs with other fearful behaviors like separation anxiety also seem to be more prone to panic. So these dogs that have separation anxiety might also develop storm phobia or fear of other loud noises like fireworks or gunshots. I mean, gosh, I get nervous with those as well, but others can only be afraid of storms. So some of the normal stimuli that elicit this fear response in our dogs can be anything from just regular rainstorm all the way up to wind, and they might even sense it in a way that we can't, changes in barometric pressure or static electricity, because we know that they can be more in tune to environmental things than we even are. So why it's serious is because anxiety can cause real live systemic responses in a pet's body. So cardiovascular response, it can lead to tachycardia, so their heart rate can be up to an abnormal level. It can increase their cortisol levels in their body. It can even cause stress-induced hyperglycemia, so their blood glucose levels can go up. It can cause GI issues like incontinence or GI upset. the musculoskeletal damage can be because some of them might even try to escape. They can just be overstimulated nervous-wise. They can have an increased respiratory rate, and they may end up chewing and doing destructive behaviors to themselves. So they can cause a lot of damages to themselves. And the other thing that we all have to be worried about is the storm phobia that can lead them to run away. Something that they might not normally do, but if they have this storm phobia or firework phobia, an additional level of gating exits and a microchip is a really good idea. You guys may have heard that July 5th is the busiest day of the year for animal control officers around the United States because of the number of pets that escape on July 4th. So this is a real deal, and it's something that our clients and our customers are definitely going to be looking for. So some general tips for our clients. We've discussed the signs already, and we've discussed most of the causes as well. So, what can you do to help them out? Well, it's important to avoid crate confinement if you feel like the dog may injure themselves. So if you have a dog that is a chewer at his crate normally, and you put him in there when he's really worked up, then that's probably not the best time to do that because he could definitely harm himself or try to escape out of there. So talk with your veterinarian about this says antidepressants. I don't recommend antidepressants. I would recommend anti-anxiety medications. There is a difference. And especially we do not want to ever give sedatives to stressed out animals because basically I always explain it to my clients like you're just basically roofing your pet. So your pet is going to be scared, your pet is going to be nervous, but he's going to be so sedated that he just has to lay there and not be able to do anything about it. So that doesn't do anything good. So we want anti-anxiety medications that can actually help to lower those anxiety levels. And you can definitely explore some behavior modification things like counter conditioning tools to help train your pet, but that has to be done when your pet is not worked up. You can try one of the anxiety reducing blanket techniques like treating children with autism. You've heard about compression therapy for these children. It works in our pets as well. And in case of bolting, an additional level of, as we said, gating and microchips are very, very important. So this is an example of the blanket technique we were talking about with the compression therapy. These are anxiety reducing shirts by Kong. And they are just very snug fitting t-shirts. They have some Velcro on there that helps them to get very, very snugly fitted. Not so much that the pet can't breathe, obviously, but just like a nice big hug or swaddling a baby. If you think about infants and newborns, how swaddling can help them feel secure and safe, it's the same type of principle that we think of for our pets so that the pet can relax and experience a feeling of being protected just like that pet, just like the baby would when they're swaddled or a kid would in the arms of their parents when they're actually scared about something. So that is, I believe, the end of our presentation. Do we have any questions? If you do have any questions, please feel free to type them in and send them to me. We'll give you about 5 minutes to put those in here and we can talk about them as we go. Someone asked me, what about those ice cubes? Yes, thank you so much for reminding me about that. So that first picture that we showed up here had the bulldog laying on ice cubes. One of the things that we should point out to our clients is that if they are dealing with a situation of heat stroke or even suspected heat stroke, one of the things that people do is they start either throwing ice cubes or super cold water on their pets because they think, okay, well, his temperature is really, really high. I need to get his temperature lower. Well, the extreme change in temperature of our pets can be just as detrimental if you lower their temperature too quickly. So the things you can do if you're seeing signs of heat stroke in your pet, other than put them in the car and floor it to the nearest veterinarian, which is what you should always do. But things that you can do preventative-wise while you're on your way into the veterinarian. Tepid water, so room temperature water can be used. Even water hose temperature water can be used to help lower the temperature slowly. Cool towels can be used to lower the temperature slowly. If the pet is conscious enough to drink, giving them cool water to drink, not ice water, but cool water to drink, can definitely help with hydration and cooling the body from the inside. But what happens whenever we get them, we put the ice or something like that on our pets, it causes constriction of the vessels near the surface of the skin, and rather than being able to emit that heat and evaporate that heat when those vessels constrict, it can actually cause the internal temperature to stay exactly the same or even get worse. Why did Kong decide to cover the dog more than Thundershirt did with their anxiety wrap, is Alan's question. I don't know exactly the answer to that question, but it did look like there was plenty of room there for the boy and girl parts to to be able to do their business. And it looks like on the very back of there, it actually helps to just keep them in place. So sort of like Spanx for dogs, you know, it just kind of gives them the compression all the way down rather than just around the chest. So, you know, my answer to that would be that it probably just gives more compression throughout the entire body rather than having it just right there around the chest, and takes the compression off of just the chest area, which if you get them too tight around the chest, we have had pets that have had some restrictive issues. So it looks to me like the Kong product takes the pressure just off of the chest and disseminates it throughout the body. Question from John: how long can I leave the insect shield apparel on my dog? There's no time limit. You can actually leave them on there all the time if you'd like to. Just really depends on the pet. If you've got a bandana or a gaiter, there's no reason why that can't stay on all the time. If you've got a little dog, or if you've got a dog, period, that likes wearing t-shirts, then there's no reason why you can't leave them on there all the time. And basically the fabric to body ratio for the insect shield products means better protection. So a gaiter is not going to give you as full of protection as one of the little mesh tanks or the doggy hoodies. So the more fabric that you have, the more insect shield technology you have, therefore the more repellent ability the fabrics are going to have. So, you know, if you've got a dog that does not like wearing any clothing, which, you know, we all know those dogs that you put the t-shirt on and the dog stands stock still in the middle of the room for an hour because they don't really understand, they think it's a straitjacket. If you've got a dog that's like that, then probably just a gaiter or a bandana is going to be the best that you can do. But if you've got a dog that doesn't mind it, or is not at risk of overheating, that's something we always have to think of too. You know, double-coated dogs, such as like a Newfoundland or a Husky or Bernese Mountain Dog, something along those lines, we probably don't want to leave for long periods of time simply because they need to be able to evaporate some of that heat. Usually we get a question too about cats coming into contact with the insect shield fabrics, so I'll go ahead and answer that one outright. Is it okay for cats to come into contact with the insect shield fabrics because of the permethrin in the product? And the answer is yes, because the permethrin is so tightly bonded to the fabric, it's not going to come off onto the cat. So if you've got a dog wearing his insect shield t-shirt with the permethrin in it, and your cat rubs up against your dog, it's not going to be an issue. If you've got a dog bed that is being commandeered by a cat, which we all know happens, obviously, in cat households, then that's not going to be a problem either. Another question: can insect shield be used if I have already put topicals on my dog? Yes, absolutely. I think it's a great thing to use in conjunction, especially if you're in an area where where ticks and fleas are endemic. Southern areas is specifically what I'm thinking of, or areas in the Northeast that have a load of ticks. You can definitely use them in conjunction with each other. Again, it's just another something in your arsenal to keep your pet safe. What about swimming? We have green heads. I don't know what a green head is. We have green heads and sand fleas where we are. Can the insect shield products get wet without being ineffective? Yes, they can get wet without being ineffective. They can actually withstand washing for up to something like 75 times without losing any of their efficacy. So you absolutely can get them wet. You can wash them if they get dirty, and it's not going to decrease the effectiveness of the product. Is it safe to leave the Kong shirt on my pet if I go out or if my pet is in a crate? Yes, it should be fine. I would definitely make sure that you put it on your pet while your pet is being monitored first. Do it a few times so that you can make sure that your pet isn't going to freeze or go bananas by having it on. It should cause the exact opposite effect. But we all know dogs are individuals just the same way that people are. So try it on them a few times while you're home, while you're monitoring. Make sure that everything is okay. And then it should be just fine. If your pet is doing fine with a shirt on, it should be just fine to leave them in their crate while you go out if the shirt is on. Question is, you mentioned insects that go from pets to people. So basically what we're saying is that the same type of insects that attack our pets can attack us as well. So obviously mosquitoes that are carrying heartworm disease to our pets can definitely get us as well. And Zika, as we know, has been diagnosed here in the U.S., as well as West Nile virus and other mosquito-transmitted issues. So that would be an example. Another example would be ticks. If your pet is coming into your home, has these tick nymphs on them, and they are getting in your couch or your carpet or your bedding, then those ticks obviously can latch onto us as well. So basically what I meant by saying insects that go from pets to people just mean that our pets can be great little transporters or attractors of bugs that can feed on us just as much as they feed on our pets and transmit diseases to us just the same way that they transmit diseases to our pets. What about sun exposure in the summer? Is it a danger? Yes, it can be. There are definitely solar-induced issues that our pets can have. And, you know, again, for a lot of dogs or cats, this is not going to be an issue at all. This is going to be an issue for certain pets. You know, just using my two dogs as an example. My big black dog is covered from tip to tail with a very, very thick black fur. The skin that is exposed around his eyes and around his nose is black, so he is at much lower risk of developing some sort of a solar-induced skin cancer or something along those lines than my little white dog, who has pink around his eyes and has very thin fur to the point where you can actually see his freckles through his fur. So if I were to have my little white dog out in the sun for a prolonged period of time, I would definitely have some sort of a cover on him or have some doggy sunscreen on the skin parts that are going to be exposed. And I always recommend doggy sunscreen specifically because most of our human sunscreens are not made to be ingested, and as we all know, whenever we put something on a dog, they're more than likely going to lick it or chew it. So the doggy sunscreens are made to be safe around the eyes, safe around the mouth, and typically safe if they are ingested in small amounts. Good question. We have a question from asking about ice. What about feeding dogs ice? You mentioned temperature changes being dangerous. Typically, if they are healthy, not having any issues, and giving them some ice cubes here and there is not going to be a problem. I do warn pet owners about giving hard ice cubes to their dogs simply because you know, it happens with people as well. Chewing on hard objects like ice or bones can sometimes cause some dental fractures. My own father, my human father, cracked a tooth about 10 years ago when he was chewing on ice, so it happens to us. It can definitely happen to them as well. But typically if you have an animal that is healthy, not suffering from any sort of heat issues, giving them a little bit of ice or ice cubes in their water sometimes can be fun. They might like to play ice hockey with it, so that's typically not an issue. It's whenever they're suffering from some sort of hyperthermia or hypothermia, obviously issue, but hyperthermia specifically, that it's the quick change in temperature that we try to avoid. So the very best thing that you can do for a pet that has any sign or any suspicion of having a hyperthermic issue, heat stroke issue, is get them immediately to the veterinarian. My advice to my clients is if they call and they say, my dog was out in the sunshine, or he was out for a walk, or he was out doing something, and now he is panting heavily, he doesn't seem quite with it, they might say he's a little stumbly or something like that, he's just a little out of it. My usual advice to them is, number one, get some tepid water on them, so room temperature water, pour it on them, soak them in it, put them on a towel, put them in your car, turn on the air conditioner, and drive directly to the veterinarian, because the safest way to bring those temperatures down is slowly but surely, and getting intravenous fluids in there to help cool them from the inside is the most important thing. That's why, again, we don't want to throw ice on them if they're suffering from these issues. So, we want to try and cool them from the inside at a slow, regular rate, because the damage that heat stroke can do to the body and to the blood cells, to the liver, to the GI tract, to the brain, definitely can be deadly. As we said, in pets that are suffering from actual heat stroke, the fatality rate is about 50%. So this is not one to mess with. If you do have anyone ever, one of your customers or clients that is dealing with what they even think might be heat stroke, absolute emergency. They need to go immediately to the veterinarian and have their pet evaluated. Thank you guys all so much for signing on today and for listening. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to shoot us an email, and we can hopefully help answer any questions that you may have in the future. Thanks so much for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you next time.